Necromance, a story written and drawn by Yuki Damoto. It is not an isekai, because some people are into isekai and some people are not. And this is personally one of my more favorite manga there is out there. And as far as I know, it only has received 5 volumes and has been canceled pretty early on. But the stopping point has left kind of like a good conclusion, but it's not like the ideal conclusion, so to speak. It stars Shibiki Raven right here and Serafina Pastel with the Curious Rogue and the back, and then they go by Surfy and Liko, or Rico, whatever you want to call it. That just depends on however you wish to prefer to call it, either by the fan trans or by the official volume publication. Which, mind you, this is actually officially published by 7 Seas, and it's going to net you for 13 USA, 13 US dollars, or 17 Canadian dollars. The art style is actually really good in my opinion. I do like it. It's more like shoujo-esque compared to shonen. And some of the key genres for this is shonen, fantasy, adventure, supernatural action, romance, and magic, along with non-human and witch, according to Bookwalker. It basically starts after the Demon Lord defeats. Basically, get reincarnated into another world, defeat the Demon Lord that's starting our world, but every isekai basically ever never really defeats the Demon Lord, so this is kind of post-Demon Lord. It's kind of like Faraway Frieren, or I think that's what it's called, or the Frieren. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Basically, the synopsis is in the final battle with the Demon King, Shibiki performs the ultimate sacrifice, dying to protect his childhood love. His only regret is not confessing before his demise. Luckily for him, it seems God has other plans for this hero and the saint duo. Shibiki raises from the dead, and during his own funeral, no less. I just added that no less part. Shibiki's new chance at life isn't all that it appears, for it's no life at all. The Demon King laid one last curse on him during their duel, and now Shibiki is undead. To be freed from the grievance curse of the undeath, he and his team must hunt down and defeat the Demon Lord once again for all. So, it's a nice volume. Like I said, it basically stars Shibiki Raven and then Serafina Pastel. This is, or they just call her Surfy, but I believe in the fan trains they call her Sophie or Sophia. But yeah, up to you. Could be completely wrong. But then there's also Liko Rouge, which you can call her Liko. They're all, he's classified as a hero. You got the High Saint, who's basically the priestess and all that. You also got the sorceress, and then you also got another character, Viburnum Gray, who is an exiled knight, as well as Gladius Silver, who is also an exiled king. He was the ex-king of the Silver Kingdom. In the little plot, it's just saying, like, during the Demon King raid and all that, destroyed Mid-Atlantic kingdoms, his was one of the first to fall, hence he is a fallen king. It basically elaborates kind of his wife has deceased in the war, so he goes back to help rebuild and revitalize his kingdom in that aspect. Whereas I doesn't say much about it for Gray, apart from he was just an exiled knight. I believe he also came from the country, but nothing written down for that. But here's the thing, these two both are in love with each other. They get engaged because it's basically kind of like that. They get engaged and they do enjoy it. He loves Surfy. These three are actually childhood friends. In the backstory, they kind of establish that kind of relatively on. He's been cursed by the Demon King by just simply existing and defeating the Demon Lord. He sought after to protect Surfy, just to protect her because he actually really cares for her and loves her and all that. However, when he gets the curse, he's basically turned into an undead. He doesn't know it at first, but when he eventually hugs Surfy, he starts burning up, which she's like basically holiness incarnated. Because why that? Hell not. No. He gets burned up to basically have severe burns, and then she basically discovers and say, hey, you're an undead now. Deal with it. So let's go break the curse now. Bada boom, bada bang. Eventually, you kind of get introduced to another character, Vanilla, who is actually a succubus, who basically fell in love with Shibiki after fighting him after like 1 or 2 spats, but he was like, yeah, I'm not gonna. He's like, yeah, I'm not gonna hurt a woman who's gonna be crying or like that. And this, mind you, this happens in like chapter 2 with the Vanilla showing up. But anyway, there's a total of 5 chapters in this entire volume right here. It's not that lengthy. It's about like roughly 200, roughly. The first chapter is called A Vow of Everlasting Blood. Basically, the hero Shibigi dies at the start. He basically then gets up after a party. He gets up, gets reincarnated. He's like, yeah, I can't let this end it like this. Why is she Sophie crying? But he gets up at the start. And then like an after party is like thrown and all that. Eventually, yeah, gets hugged by Sophie. Turns out he's actually cursed by the Demon King, who later is found out basically roughly in the same chapter that the Demon King is still alive. So basically, he just wants to end the curse and just do a couple things. I believe that's the exact text, or even more than so. But she's like, yeah, no, let's wait till I'm 16 so we can actually legally get married, because technically in this story she's 15, he's 17. So you have to, I believe it's like 16 age of consent, like 16, 18, or I don't know, something like that. But yeah, he cannot basically like wield the holy blade anymore, thus he has to either resort to just normal weaponry, really. He's still like basically same strong, but he can't really feel whatever is going on. In terms of chapters 2, it's called A Person's Caliber. It's basically there are demons running amok to the town that they're staying in, where basically there was a giant like Ricky statue of Surfy shown and all that. But yeah, and then basically demons are run amok. This is where Vanilla gets introduced. She's just a succubus, apparently pretty strong, but gets basically defeated and just starts crying. And then Vanilla immediately says, I want your children, please have children with me. And the thing is, she tried to seduce Shibiki and try to steal his life essence, because succubus does that and all that. But really, she couldn't, so she tried to portray as Surfy, but slightly with a little more bust in Surfy compared to that. But yeah, she failed, and then eventually these two discovered and all that. But yeah, because he was an undead, he can steal it. He basically kind of wasn't in a state of ecstasy. He was actually quite enjoying it, in fact. And just, yeah, basically gets beaten by Shibigi with a plain sword, and now the Vanilla just decides to travel with them. Oh, and apparently she can just turn into a cat and is actually nocturnal, because that's what succubuses do. They steal the energy at night or something. Chapter 3 is called Surfy's Gonna Give It Her All. They go shopping at the Demon Emporium after Vanilla gives them kind of a tip in a way. The Surfy then finds a bunch of cursed equipment that she thinks that Shibiki can wear, but plot twist, because of her literal immense amount of godly amounts of energy of holy, she purifies them. Completely pure. They're just normal. They're actually going to, in fact, burn and actually destroy him. She's like basically, I swear, she's trying to kill him. No. Yeah, eventually a zombie called Smiles. Now, this guy is actually really good. Smiles, he shows up later on. He gives a bracelet that the shopkeep has, so he can actually withstand holy energy, which Shibiki is like, ooh, I want that so I can start hugging and do more coupley things with her. Ooh, yay. Yeah, he goes along with Smiles, because Smiles is like, we're undead bros, bro do bro things kind of thing. Thing is, Surfy's been raised to say, hey, undead is completely wrong and all that. Like, you're not supposed to follow the undead and anything like that. Like, the undead is technically against mankind. You're supposed to purify them. So she clearly made out. I was like, yeah, may I purify you? The zombie's like, nah, I'm not ready yet, but I have something to do. So this kind of leading on towards the chapter 4, which is called Undead Ancestors. It's basically the zombie bro cave with dead machines. It's just kind of just like it's like more of a filler chapter more than anything. It just provides some kind of semblance, a little bit more backstory against like the church being evil and all that. But she's like, why is the church evil? It's kind of basic classic church evil kind of thing and all that. Oh yeah, and then towards the end of chapter 3, how they pay a demon emporium is just magic power, while because Maliko has a whole lot of magic power, so she's just drained and all that. Oh, yeah. Oh, and mind you, she basically thinks of naughty things on occasions, basically when these two start flirting and all that. So she's a bit of a, yeah, she's a bit of a perv. Yeah. In chapter 4, basically you get some plot and all that for Smiles, who basically is just like in the zombie cave. He doesn't remember who he is. He just woke up and he just thinks he's this zombie next to him who he thinks is his wife, but this is the only one who actually smiles near him. So he says, "Oh, I think this is my wife. I think." Keyword, I think. But yeah. And then for chapter 5, which is the Saint's Judgment, it basically, she just defeats a bunch of the Ottomans that show up towards the end of chapter 4. She goes basically on a rampage once they like just destroy her clothes and she's just in her underwear, which is like typical like a shonen stuff. She just goes all ape shit berserk and all that. So, and then they eventually go to the hot springs afterwards. It's just towards the end and all that. That's just towards the end, but it just teases the hot springs, which will happen on the next chapter, but it doesn't cover in this chapter. It then shows that the bracelet has been cracked and can only be basically used for a limited time afterwards because of the whole lot of holy energy. So it should be used like, yeah, I'm gonna take it and just kind of do as much coupley things as I can later that night. So there's that. Yeah, Necromance, would I give it a recommend? Heck yes. The art style I do actually really enjoy, as it's nothing more like shonen. It's actually more inkling towards like shoujo more than anything. Because you got something more akin to like this, which is actually really nice shading and all that. Like you kind of, this like looks more of like a anime poster more than anything. So I mean, this is what I mean by kind of more occasional like shoujo kind of art. This is what I personally think it's more akin to it, but yeah, it's something like that. This is what I think personally what shoujo art would kind of look like. So there's that. Have fun. Would I personally give it a read? Yes, I would recommend it to anyone who happens to just like some just kind of sweet, wholesome romance. This is kind of what it has. They don't really progress as too far as, like I said, the series has been canceled after 5 volumes, essentially, because it hasn't been selling well. Personally, I think it should have just continued, but you never know. Maybe it won't get a reboot. But the creator has been creating manga ever since 2011, with their latest being since 2021, with a basically I'm gonna try like a love game, like basically where the two main characters are love interests, but they try to make each other try and fall in love with each other or something like that, or try and say I love you. But yeah, would I recommend this? Yes, I would give it 8 out of 10. It's a nice story. It gets there, and it's pretty likable characters. There's some kind of comedic moments in there for me and Bleeze, but yeah, recommend to anyone? Heck yes. Do enjoy it. Yeah.